Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. We are coming to you live from Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Don't forget to go check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go find us on all those platforms as well as Hive and Instagram.
I like that you also put this on there even though we didn't watch it.
Oh, did we not? I thought you did.
No, I told you. We tried to watch it and the link didn't work anymore.
Oh, but I thought maybe you watched it. You know what? I'll
how can I
update
watch
right
something
now.
that the link doesn't
I'm
work?
going to edit.
Silly woman.
I didn't know.
You were
Anyways.
there.
Friends, Romans, countrymen. My husband don't tell me nothing.
You're white.
I honestly thought that you had figured it out, and that's why it was
I told
there.
You. We sat down and watched it together. And I said, "Oh, the link is expired. We're not watching this."
Oh.
And you went, "Okay, something else then." And she never listens to anything I say. We literally talked about this as we were logging on. That I said, "You don't listen to me anyway. You ignore me once." And she goes, "I don't either." And then we start to show off with something she didn't listen to.
Well, I've saved changes, so it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
I think our camera's off centered.
I don't care anymore.
All right. Well, let's talk about some movies.
It's too far to my side.
I told you I could see all the way to his door.
And you said it all the way over here. It looks good.
Well,
I don't care.
Let's talk about some movies.
If you could only hear about the nonsense camera lighting issues behind the scenes that this one has, nothing's good enough for her.
Okay, did you see this movie?
I did. I watched it today.
You want to talk about that?
Whatever.
Tell me about this. Tell me about it, stud.
Oh, God. I have not wrote the review for it yet.
I think it was fun.
But it comes out this week. So we're talking about the movie Sakra, which is the latest Donnie Yen movie that not only stars Mr. Yen himself, he also directed it. This isn't the first movie he's directed, but it is the first one in a while. It's basically the story of a martial artist who's accused of murdering his own parents and I think his master. And then he goes on the run and searches the answers. Try to find ends up finding like his own mysterious origin story and the enemies that are kind of behind the scenes. It's part of the wuxia genre of martial arts heroes. I believe it's based on an actual book. And it's one of those it's kind of the period martial arts piece with the wire work. And all that stuff.
I like that.
But there's also the element of supernatural to it, but it's from the standpoint of like specific techniques have abilities. It's not that they're superpowered people. It's like this person, like he does these techniques and he like does this thing like this, and then it like will send this shockwave. So it's like that something palm that he knows. Yes. And then someone else has this thing where suddenly like they have like the flaming fist, but it's not like they're superpowered people. It's like they learn to use this kind of thing. You just buy into the crap of it.
You just go with it. You roll with it.
It's the mystical martial arts elements that give you that elevation of superheroism. And I will say, I actually really like this movie. It's hard not to like a Donnie Yen movie because even when he's not fighting, the man's got charisma. You know, there's something just fun about him to watch. You know, it's like the movie is serious. It's got a little what's the word I'm looking for? It gets a little lost on itself sometimes, like a lot of the Asian cinema films, because they get too much going on and too many directions and stuff. But in this case, it works. It's kind of there's some love story elements. There's a guy trying to find his place. There's a guy trying to be that. This is very much about like martial arts heroes and the ground you stand of what a martial arts hero is, which is the martial arts hero genre is kind of similar to superhero genre. Yeah, is that guy that is the best martial artist and wants to face up against these other martial artists. They also, if you're the real guy, if you're the real hero, really the best, then you have that respect factor. Like there's a moment in the movie when he's kind of being ousted from all these other different tribes, if you will, and they're talking about how each person is supposed to take, because he's being accused and this, and he's like, he takes the knife because each person's supposed to take some kind of cut. He goes, I'm going to take everybody's cut. He goes, out of the respect, and he just stabs himself like 4 times so that none of the masters have to do it. Yikes. And still gets ousted because of it. So crazy. But it's him saying, look, I didn't do what you say I'm going to do, but to show you that I'm honorable, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to find the truth, and leaves. And then the love story element ends up making him come back, which then turns into a bunch of awesome fights. And there's some great fight sequences. There's tons of Donnie Yen versus everybody. And it's also very, very, very clearly the first of more than one movie.
Oh.
It has
okay.
some revelations at the end. It has a cliffhanger of one aspect. Like the movie has an ending, but then some other stuff that's mysterious in the movie that you almost forget was never revealed is revealed at the very end, and then it kind of ends on with somebody smiling and somebody else showing up, and you're like, oh crap! So there's going to be more, I'm assuming. Nice. But it's everything you want a Donnie Yen, old school Donnie Yen martial arts flick. I really dug it.
Okay, well, good.
Like I said, you have to buy into that supernatural element, and there's also those things that they don't touch base a lot of, like if I'm fighting but I have these power kind of thing that I use, what happens if you actually hit the wrong person with that ability? And now that's kind of the catalyst. What happens is he's doing his whatever palm strike thing, and he hits the wrong person, so he's trying to get them help, but it's because of him doing it.
He did it.
And now they're like, how dare you think, and they're using it against him we'll save them if you give up your life. And then they betray him anyway. It's this ongoing thing of a lot of ass whooping. So okay. I enjoyed it.
Well, good.
It comes out this Tuesday from Wellgo USA, and we're giving it away on our website at
HollywoodMatrimony.com. That sounds fun.
With the catchphrase, duty, honor, revenge.
Ooh.
And Donnie on the cover doing this.
Something on your face.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to go to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got lots to say about this.
I was saying, not that other way to watch it.
I'm not going there. Okay. This is the new movie that was released on Hulu and Disney Plus at the same time. Mm-hmm. It is the new movie Flamin' Hot, the directorial debut of Eva Longoria. There you go. That's all you need to know.
It is a story of the man who supposedly invented Flamin' Hot Cheetos, which you would think was not be that compelling of a story.
Man, this was crazy.
It's crazy. It's funny. It's uplifting.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people attack it.
Why?
Because it's a stupid reason. It's not even the thing you would expect. What would you think people would attack this movie for?
It's too Spanish.
Okay, none of that has anything to do with it.
Oh.
I've seen Hispanic people attack the movie. And I'm not saying a bunch, it's not a big uproar about it, but they're like, this guy didn't invent flaming hot Cheetos or spicy chips. We were eating those when we were a kid the whole time. Like, they missed the entire point of the story.
It's like, yes, we know that.
He was
trying to get it marketed by a big company to make it. Everybody knows you do that at home.
And then somebody else talked about, well, some other whatever country had already developed that long before that, which they show in the movie. They just weren't.
But they were testing it in other areas.
Well, they were doing it chemically instead of organically with actual spices, and they weren't doing it towards the Hispanic community. They were just trying to make a spicy chip.
But we do know we put spice on everything. Yes, I agree. We've been doing that since you were little. You take a piece of fruit, throw some stuff on it. You would take some chips or tortillas where you throw some stuff on it.
That's the entire point.
That's
where
the
the
point
idea
of it. Is
from.
Like, hey, instead of just doing this at home, let's do it on a Cheeto and sell it and make some money.
And you know what? I knew of this story. I didn't go in detail, but I knew there was some janitor guy that was supposedly had been given credit for the idea. But I didn't realize that Flamin' Hot Cheetos were that far back.
Yeah, because this was
because I didn't. But it goes to a lot to be said for. There's a moment there where you find out like they didn't really market it because they're trying to.
They didn't
bury it because it's another white guy who didn't want nobody wants to listen to the janitor.
Correct.
But I remember Flamin' Hot Cheetos when they got huge, but it was way after that. It wasn't at that time period when it became mainstream finally.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't get marketed, so people didn't know about it. And then finally probably got national distribution.
The bag in there is that old school Cheetos bag. I don't ever once remember seeing that version of the Cheeto bag as Flamin' Hot. And this may not be the real bag. They may have did something different for the movie, but it was based on one of the classic Cheeto bags.
Yes. But I think they were only selling it in California until at the end when he's like, I need 5,000 million gazillion cases.
Yeah, 5 million.
Then it's when it got national distribution.
Yeah, so I didn't eat them for years. I still don't really eat them. I like different versions of the hot stuff. But I remember people started eating them all the time and seeing them at that point. But I still didn't eat them, so it wasn't as relevant. But of course, now you look at it like every chip brand has
a
spicy, flaming, something crazy, which.
Yeah,
it's insane how much of it spins off of something so simple.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you feel as represented in a film like this?
I felt represented. I agree with the people who are like, we've been doing that forever. Yes, I think that's why it was so great to get the story told of how our culture and our flavors and our food got injected into a corporate organization that was willing to take the chance to make these and distribute these on a national level. That's the whole point. I mean, we do eat all that. Of course we do. Everybody does. But I think it's interesting when your culture and your flavors are represented. I think it's like when we go to Asia and you see like squid chips or whatever. We don't have that here. I wish we did. But I think how cool is that your culture and your foods
really
are represented? Well, maybe not, but I like the other ones that are. I don't know what flavor it is, but I don't know. One of the Asian ones. The seaweed flavors. Those I like. All the seaweed chips and things. I like those. I don't know.
A lot of people, I think some of it spilled over too. So there's a lot of like the green tea flavors. For the longest time, we're only like in Asia's and Europe.
Yeah, but I'm just, I think it's a great story. And it was a cool story to see it. Like the janitor put in the initiative to figure out how the machines work. What happens to these chips? How do you do that? Like he was just asking the questions and figuring it out. And I think we need more of that.
What I think is interesting about this film, it is a very good movie. It's well done. It's actually way funnier than I thought. Seeing the poster kind of does do perfection to the vibe of the film.
Yeah.
It is uplifting. It is inspiring. It is, it's got those tropes of, the education or where you come from doesn't dictate who you are and what you can become kind of mentality. And it's factual. It's obviously truth. And being smart doesn't mean you got A's in school. It's also just reading and just listening. It's like, we've had this discussion on here. It's like, you're the one that has way more schooling than I have. But I have a different, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than you, but I have a different mentality because I read and I watch so many documentaries. I study.
I read.
I know you do, but I study life stuff. Whereas you're more knowledgeable about business things and how government things work.
That's why we complement each other. Wow, babe.
I didn't have the schooling, so I didn't know how to five.
Wow.
So there's different ways.
I did not know this was that same guy.
Which guy?
This guy.
Oh yeah, Tony Shalhoub. You realize that was him?
No, they did such a good makeup job on him.
Oh yeah, I recognized him right away.
I didn't because then I see him all the time in Miss Maisel.
I think he looks exactly like him.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think he looks any different.
Well, his hair.
It's darker hair, but
and it has full hair. I didn't know that was him at all. Sorry, wow. They did a good job on that one. Continue.
But it's one of those movies that I like. That while the focus is the story of how the Flamin' Hot Cheeto came to be, it's actually about the story of this executive and how he came to be this cultural marketing person for Frito-Lay and building up to it. It's kind of got that inspiring, like an inspirational sports film.
It is an inspirational film, and I hope that's what people get from this. It's a cool story about the shoot, but I hope that people become inspired. That's why I was saying it's the janitor, but I hope that you can get more from it, that he took the time to ask questions, figure it out, and just be unwilling to listen to the word no.
Yeah.
Or like, you're just the janitor.
But I like too that
he's like, no, I'm a maintenance executive. Or he didn't let any of that keep him down.
But I like that the un-Hollywood aspect of it. I mean, it wasn't always just him. He's going to fight. He's persevering. It also showed his weaker side and put to the forefront the power of his wife's support, and how it was really kind of her that said, look, you're not a nobody. You can do this. And then you have this other guy that works at the plant that's an engineer type character who's also a person of color. And they're both in the same situation. So this guy's already gotten himself to that position. This guy's following him, and they're kind of working together, but neither one is just saying, oh, I accept you because you're also brown. He's like, he didn't trust him because I don't want you to take my job.
Correct.
And then you see that balance each other, and then seeing how they each feed off each other. And there's also redemption arcs for some of the, per se, bad characters.
Yeah, because I was concerned about that one guy.
Well, you have you're talking about the plant manager guy? Or are you talking about
the gang guy?
Oh.
His friend was kind of the gang thug guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of those things that you
worried
look at.
About him.
We even said there's a moment where this guy has to make a decision financially. Because they have a choice. We're like, that guy's dead.
Yeah.
And there's so many layers of it. Had a real vibe to it, where it feels like realness, but you still got that inspiration, and it never felt like that couldn't happen. Because it did happen, obviously. And when you make a movie like this, there are probably a lot of elements is not the way it happened.
Yeah, but there is one part
there
where
may be multiple characters, maybe merged into one character.
Well, and there's one point where he's telling a story. He's like, okay, my wife says I exaggerate. This is what really happened. And they go back and redo it. That was funny.
And I think, so there's a thing in that, too, that was a thing I was going to bring up. There's a couple of moments where his reaction is based on what he wants to do. So you're seeing, like, he gets mad at some guy that's talking trash, and he beats the snot out of him. Then you're like, that didn't really happen. I got to keep my mouth shut. But that stuff is funny for the movie, but it has a very important element to when you get to this thing at the end, and it's another big moment like that. And he's like, this one actually happened.
This really
and
happened.
Really like, and it's bigger than anything that's happened before. And you get that impact kind of slapped you in the face. And you kind of get slapped in the face.
I got emotional.
You get so used to that's those kind of memory joke.
Yeah.
Get it across that you realize that's the real thing, and it's bigger than anything he had thought about earlier. It's
awesome.
So, and it didn't have the typical, like, we kept waiting for him to be completely robbed of the idea and screwed over, and he ended up with nothing, and like neither one of us remembered how that story actually played out.
Yeah.
And these stories that we usually see like this is this guy has an idea, everything's going great,
somebody stole it.
We find out.
And that's what I always thought, because I remembered someone saying something about a janitor, and I was like, but I was like, maybe somebody stole it. But
and it usually ends with, when you get the real story, is like, and they died penniless because they never paid them for the rights to do something. Right. So that's what you're waiting for. And then you find out all the good this guy did.
I don't think his wife would have let that happen. She was on top of everything.
There's even like a sub-story issues with his father that has like an interesting dynamic that, like, I kind of relate to on some level, not as bad as that, but that. And I think I kept saying it through the whole movie. I was like, he just doesn't know how to do it. He's trying to do the right thing, even though he's coming off on his ass.
But I think, too, if you look at, this gets deep on y'all here. Sorry. Like generational trauma and how throughout the generation. So if you're a person of color, you've always been looked down upon, or at least his father was. And so he's like, you can't expect more than what you got. He's like, you're the janitor. So he's like, I found you a good job. You can be the manager of the janitor. He's like, I'm still a janitor. He's like, why can't you see further than that? But that's his dad's limited scope of what he knows and what he's experienced. Yeah.
But
that's why he treated him throughout the movie. He treated him bad.
Because his own station kind of made him bad.
Yeah.
It's like
but it's not his fault. It's learned experience that completely.
Well, you look at him too, is you look at sometimes the frustration of being a man, and I know that sounds sexist, but what I'm talking about I'm talking about the frustrations of the perception of what a man is supposed to do in family.
That's silly.
Obviously, a lot of that has changed societal now, but that underlining thing is still there. This isn't about race. This is about the man's place in the family, and the idea that men are expected to provide for their family, to take care of their family. They go work. Now, it's not against the woman working, but if the house is failing, it's the man's fault.
Suddenly it's your fault.
That's how perception has always been. And even though we have a different dynamic, say in our personal life, she makes most money in the house, and I still feel obligated as the man, as that societal mentality of, I got to make sure that I'm pulling my weight around here. If things go wrong, it's my fault.
Just kidding.
Even though the reality of it is, she's paying for it. If it goes wrong, it's her fault. But I have that mentality because I'm not bringing the same to it. No, right? I'm bringing a different energy, different things.
But I feel like now it's equal. We're a partnership, and so it's just it's different. I think what we both provide for the household is different, and we do it together. And if we have to live off the piggy bank together, we will. And when we got cash flowing, we do it together. I mean,
right? No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that.
But that was totally where his dad was coming from. And his dad's you can't provide for the family being a janitor.
I think our generation is one of the last ones that still came up kind of under that. Like, I'm guaranteed your dad, even though your mom made more money than your dad.
My dad, and it's just.
Well, I know, but your mom may always. I'm assuming most of the time made more money than your dad.
Yeah.
But your dad was still very much the leader of the house.
Yes.
My dad always made more money.
And somebody to bring his food.
Yeah, my dad always made more money than my mother.
Your mom stayed home. Didn't?
Well, no. Both my parents full time until my mother got hurt. They worked 2-3 jobs each, but it was still very much my mom's role was cook dinner, clean the house, take care of me, and work. My dad's role was go to work, come home, mow the lawn, work on the cars, be served dinner. Feed me. It's that.
Ooh.
Was that thunder?
Yeah, it's supposed to storm tonight.
And there's nothing wrong with it from a standpoint of having a role.
No, I mean, but gender roles have completely switched. But
it does jade you on your mental capacity of providing for your family, and when you can't do the thing that everybody expects you or looks at you, or you think that you're not pulling your weight, it turns to anger.
Yeah.
That doesn't justify abuse, alcoholism, or anything else, but it's like anything else. Is if every time I came home, somebody's telling me like, Kate, why don't you, I'm going to use an example of personal space. Before you, I was married before. And one of the things as a younger person with babies, I was constantly getting from my dad and my ex-father-in-law were always trying to get me to get these different jobs they found. Hey, why don't you work here? Hey, here's this truck driving job. It'd be a great job. Never once did they ask my wife to get a better job. And in the reality, I'm the one that was making all the money. She did a fine job at a daycare thing. It was helping us financially, but it never once occurred to anybody to say, why don't you get out of the daycare and get a better job? It was always, hey, you need to get a better job because you're the man. And that causes stress. That's stupid sounding stress, but it's there. And that plays a big important thing of that guy's, not only his relationship with his father, but him trying to provide for his own family of, what if I do this and I fail and we lose everything?
But the cool thing is that I liked his wife, Judy, because she's like, I can take some extra shifts. He's like, no, you shouldn't have to. She's like, yes, it's our family. She's like, I'm doing it for the family. So, and I have that same mentality. It's like, whatever we got to do between both of us.
Me and you had that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get a regular job per se.
You would die. You would turn into.
I would hate it.
You would turn into something so sad. I wouldn't want.
I try to be honest with her about it, but at the same time, if I had to get a different kind of job to pay our bills, then I would do it. But I'm not going to lie and say.
No, but it would sacrifice your entire sense of being. It would not be worth it. Yeah. Money's not worth that. But me, I love working office jobs. I got 2.
See, I've got her convinced as a
no, but it would. You would be so sad and depressed. You wouldn't even be you, and that would not be happy for me. So I'd rather you do.
You can live with this guy.
No. Oh my gosh. But see, and I love what I do. You put me in front of a computer, I will work all day long.
I watch her work sometimes. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm going the other way.
Love it. But see, that's the cool thing because we're both now doing what we like. So
mostly, yeah.
There you go. Okay, so go after all that big existential.
Go watch a movie about Cheetos.
Go watch the Cheetos movie, Flamin' Hot, and I hope it did well, and I hope even Longoria gets to direct another movie.
And it's good for the whole family. It
really is. It's a cute. Yes. Oh, and the little boy from Lopez versus Lopez is so cute.
And he just had a birthday. George Lopez just shared a thing about him and his birthday, and how awesome he thinks.
Oh my gosh, he is so cute. And he's
fun. He's the taste tester for the Cheetos in the movie.
Where's that little boy, Bryce Gonzalez? I wonder if they tweeted anything about him. I have to go check it out. It's so cute. Cute. Yeah.
Check out Flamin' Hot, available now on Hulu. It's excellent.
And
even if you don't like Flamin' Hot Cheetos, it's still a fun movie.
Either or. All right.
And you get to watch a lot of machines. Like a lot of times I felt like we were watching how they were made.
Yes.
Thing or Sesame Street when it would show the plants.
Did you feel like when you went to your dad's?
I did.
Like
I had flashbacks of the numerous times my dad worked at Kraft for 40 plus years, and when we were younger, we were allowed to go to the plant.
I got to go to one time before they stopped it.
But did you get to go when you went with us? Did they have the machines running, or were they all stopped that day?
I think they were stopped that day because his family would every day.
Well, because they used to do them, but they would let us go through. You just couldn't go past the barrier, but you could see Capri Suns running. I've seen stuff like the opening of Laverne and Shirley with the bottles and all the stuff.
Or somebody's glove on it.
I remember I would watch Sesame Street, and they would have those segments where they would show plants making stuff, and I'd be like, Dad, your work's on TV.
Aww.
Because I remember seeing, because I went there all the time.
Yeah.
And seeing salad dressings and barbecue sauces and marshmallows and all this stuff made. It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyways.
And then those dang terrorists took it from us, so we couldn't go in there anymore. That's what it was. When all the terrorism stuff started happening, getting really more prevalent.
Big word.
Prevalent.
Okay. Check out Flamin' Hot. Thank you.
She's right here.
We're now. Oh, thanks, babe. Now we're going to the big movie of the week.
We didn't watch a whole lot this week.
A little thing called.
Actually, okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to throw something else in there.
Throw something at me, buddy. Throw it at me.
Because you were the one that I did to talk about it, but you weren't prepared, so you put something that we didn't watch.
Okay.
We also started watching the new documentary series Arnold about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I will post the link.
It's a three-part docuseries that each hour episode focuses on the three elements of his life, with the first one being athlete, the second one being artist or actor, and the third being an American, and I'm assuming that's in his political time period.
Yeah.
So we finished through the first one with athlete. That most of the stuff I knew, but I don't know how much you actually knew.
I didn't know nothing about nothing, buddy. I don't know anything about it.
To give you a different insight to Schwarzenegger.
I'm going to post it. Yes. You know, it's interesting. I think the most interesting thing to me, or curious, was that he had won Mr. Universe, but then he comes to America and they're like, oh, you got a fat tummy. And I'm like, what? Two-time Mr. Universe is not in shape enough to win in the U.S. So what does that mean about our physical body standards? We have issues here.
Well, he also mentioned it was...
Because he was just trying to be big.
Yeah, he was talking about... He wasn't so much actually fat, but it was... He didn't pay attention to his diet. It wasn't the details. It was mass. And he said that's what it really made him understand the difference of actually being in shape and being in shape.
Yeah, because I think even now, well, you told me he's vegan now, correct?
Yeah.
But I mean, even the whole thing of like knowing what to eat and when to eat it and all that stuff, like that to me was just amazing. You know, what does it really mean? The amount of crap
that I've like relearned over the last 4 months because I've been working out more. I've been training with a guy and the little details and the nonsense that, you know, and of course you can learn from 35 different people, 35 different things. But stuff like don't eat after 8 o'clock, don't eat before you go to bed, don't eat at night because then you're going to gain weight, and finding out that that's all nonsense.
Yeah.
That, you know, obviously don't eat an entire pizza right before you go to bed.
Correct.
But it doesn't matter what time, what you eat and how much you eat. As
I
long
think
as you
it
stay
goes
within
along
your calorie.
with the timing, like as long as you worked out. And
no, it goes with your calorie intake for the
totals.
day. So you want to stay in, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If like right now I'm not bulking up so much as I'm trying to lose weight, so I got to be at a calorie deficit. If you want to bulk up, you got to be a calorie surplus. So it's finding that balance, and then knowing that my always, you know, especially one of my thought processes and something we used to do years ago when we were training was, you know, if you're not working out that day, don't eat as many calories,
right?
Because you don't want to put in as many. And I've been feeling a lot of stuff now. It's like, that's nonsense. Your body gets used to needing that many calories. So even on your days off, you still eat the same amount of calories.
You go into starvation. And then because it's like, oh, I got to store some fat.
Your metabolism is going to slow down and all this stuff. And then it's the differences between sugars and fats and carbs. And, you know, there was one guy I was watching a video that said he's a trainer guy who comments on other people's videos while they're talking. So he plays it, and then in the background it's playing it above him. And this guy was like saying, if you cut out carbs, you're going to cut out calories. He goes, the guy's like, of course, you cut out anything, you're going to get calories. And the guy's like, if you eat more fruits and vegetables, you're going to get this. But then he goes, well, yeah, because you're still getting carbs from this, but then those are just less calories. So obviously your calories are going to lower. And he's like calling the nonsense of what the guy is saying because they're double speaking. It's like me saying, well, if I only get $10 gas, I'm going to save money.
Yeah, but you only
got $10. But if I got $20 gas, I've lost some money. But ignoring the fact that you're going to get $10 gas twice because it's still going to cost that, you know, and you might get a little bit more in that one $20 set than you would have got the $10 because of the price change.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, there's so many different things to learn from and find your own balance. And the fact that somebody else was saying, you know, not everybody's workout or not everybody's diet, not everybody's ability is going to work the same for every single person because all of our bodies work differently. So I could put you on my workouts and my plan every day, and you may see no results.
Right.
Because you may be having some kind of a...
Well, and I know my thing right now is I need to eat more protein. I need to eat more often, and I need to eat more protein, which to me seems mind-boggling. But when I did it, I lost weight. I need to eat more. I'm not eating enough.
And I don't like eating breakfast, so a lot of times I'll drink my protein and stuff in the morning. But I notice differences that if I eat more of my meals in the day, I have a more successful day health-wise than I did if I only ate twice today and way less calories, and you feel like, okay, I didn't eat very much, but I don't have the energy. A lot of times I either didn't lose weight or I put weight on because your metabolism is not going fast enough, or you're not putting in what you need to fuel yourself, or so many different ways to figure it out that I'm learning to listen to everyone, learn from some of them, and then figure out what you need.
What works for you.
Because you can watch 15 videos and every one of them will have a different opinion and not a single one might work for you.
Correct. You got to figure it out.
So in this one episode of the documentary is very much about his life and his motivations and his learning and how he got to where he's at. But you see the drive and the importance of him. I see a very big parallel between him and The Rock. Because like The Rock's mentality is be the first one up in the gym, be the hardest worker in the room mentality.
Yeah.
And you hear Arnold talk about, what he say his dad said, do whatever you can, or no matter how you do, just make sure you're always useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always be useful.
Yeah. Even though
I think that's going to come into when we see the American part of being of service politically. I think that's what we're going to see still, maybe a callback to that. Because I think that's the other thing too. Like me growing up with my dad being a pastor and stuff, that was always a thing. Like be helpful to people, be of service, do something, don't ever do anything that harms someone.
Yeah.
At the very least, be useful and be of service.
Like my side, my dad being a laborer his whole life and then having the martial arts element, it was always be on time, be respectful, and work.
Yeah.
Be willing to do whatever it takes. I think that's something that's really lost in the world is that there's so many people, especially like we have this discussion about jobs a lot.
Yeah.
That people only do what their job is.
Bare minimum.
Else. And there's the upside and the downside, and she suffers from it all the time.
I'm too useful.
Make yourself invaluable. But then when you're invaluable, a lot of times you get taken advantage of because they don't always pay you for the amount of stuff you're doing. But it's when they finally realize they need you more than somebody else is when that all makes it worth it.
Yep.
Because it's that person that does 9 to 5 and nothing else that's not going to ever grow. It's the person that does 9 to 6 that's going to have that step forward and somehow, It's martial arts. There are people the same way. It's the person that does that extra 10 push-ups, comes to one extra class. They're going to be the ones that step up as the person that comes to class, goes home, comes to class, goes home. So
there you go.
As you can see, the first hour is very inspirational.
It was very interesting to me. I didn't know anything about his early start and the weightlifting and the competitions and all. I don't know anything about
I just hope we get into the entire concept of his film Hercules in New York. My God, I want to know about this train wreck, that and the villain. My Lord. They're better be touching base on it. If they don't talk about the villain and Hercules in New York, I guarantee they'll talk about it because that's like his first movie. And then they dubbed his voice. He talked like this or something. But the villain, have you ever seen The Villain?
No.
The Western
don't know at all what you're talking about.
You've never seen The Villain?
No.
With Kirk Douglas and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
It's essentially a live-action Roadrunner. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the man, the cowboy in the white hat.
Find it.
And I think it's Anne Bancroft. Maybe it's not Anne Bancroft. It's one of those actresses back in the day. And Kirk Douglas is the man in the black hat.
What is this called?
The Villain. Oh my God.
I'll go find it.
I believe that's what it's called, The Villain.
Oh,
it's like one of his early films, like the 80s, maybe 70s. But it's essentially this guy who's taking this lady across wherever the plains, and this villain cowboy is trying to get him. So he's like dropping boulders on them, but it always goes wrong. Like his own horse
He's
kicks
the
in.
handsome stranger.
Yes, that's what it is. Handsome stranger.
Oh my!
Is it called The Villain?
It is called The Villain.
Oh my God, that movie is fantastic.
I spelled villain wrong.
I watched this movie 100 times, and I didn't know who Arnold Schwarzenegger was.
And Margaret.
And Margaret.
You were close. You said Anne.
Yeah.
Just the wrong Anne.
Yeah. Oh, we got to find this movie. That movie is fantastic.
Okay.
I can't believe you've never seen that. It's so funny.
No, never heard of it.
Yeah, but if you've never seen a very obscure Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with Kirk Douglas and Aunt Margaret, it's a Western, it's a comedy, and it's Roadrunner come to life.
Okay, then.
Well, anyway, check out Arnold. It's available now on Netflix, along with his new series, Fubar.
Yes, he's all over the place.
It's one of the top series on Netflix right now.
On the Netflix.
I'm sorry. Now let's move on to the movie thing.
Okay. A little movie you may have heard about, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
This is the 7th film in the live-action Transformers franchise and the sequel to the prequel, Bumblebee.
Yes. So, Are we going to talk about all the movies real quick?
We can.
Let's
if you
do
like.
a quick recap.
So I know that the first 5 films have a lot of divisive nature. More often than not, people do not like them. I get it, because a lot of it is hardcore Transformers fans not liking what the Michael Bay world did with the first 5 films.
Yeah.
Some of them getting redundant. Some are just so dark and heavy, too serious. The Transformers don't look like what they're supposed to look like. I get all that. I had all the same arguments. I still like all of them.
Mm-hmm. Did you? So we start first with the 3 Shia LaBeouf.
Yep. Sam Wiki films.
And I don't know why what's her name didn't come back for the 3rd one.
Who made what?
Yeah, Megan Fox.
I think there was a lot of issues with her and Michael Bay, and
oh goodness,
some other stuff. I think that she just moved on, and then Shia LaBeouf, I think he started having his personal issues and some issues with the law and stuff for the 4th film. And
okay, so then by number 4 and 5, we move on to Marky Mark, post Funky Bunch, and we get these 2. Those were interesting to me too. I mean, because it's kind of like we're starting over a little bit.
Yeah, they were kind of rebooting, but they're still in the same.
But the
story.
same thing, but different, and having to figure out like, oh, the Transformers are here. But I feel like they kind of like people knew Transformers existed, maybe.
Well, especially like the last night, because the last night
it's like they've been here forever.
Yeah, we're in a new world after everything happened, and they even touch base when they get into stuff with Anthony Hopkins, and you're learning about the Wiccan family, which is actually Shia LaBeouf's character, so that was their way.
So it's connected somehow,
keeping it together. But it did I will say, those 2 films felt suddenly disconnected from the first 3.
Yeah,
there's that missing thing of why are we
starting all over?
Yeah,
but then we go to Bumblebee.
Bumblebee jumps back to the 80s, and now the problem with Bumblebee, it does kind of mess up the continuity of what we said.
What we just said, that they've been here this whole time.
That's why we introduced the Dinobots, because they said they've been here since the Ice Age, or whatever you want to call it. But now we're saying this is here for the first time. But I also think that was on purpose, because I think they were trying to reboot the franchise.
Now, the one you can't forget is Transformers, the movie.
The one that started it all outside of the TV series. That was the big movie.
Bomb, Weep, Ninny Bomb.
Jesus Christ.
Is that right?
Not at all.
It's
in the you're in the neighborhood. You just don't have any directions to find the house.
Universal greeting. Transformers.
We go through this randomly in our house, and then she just says it periodically.
Ba weep grana weep ninny bong.
There you go.
Man, that's so close.
This and trying to sing The Last Dragon.
You are the last dragon. You possess the power of the glow.
It's better. It's closer to the original, like I said, the original power of the glow.
I made it into a country song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so believe it or not, all of these movies are slightly necessary for the new movie.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, is you could technically not watch the first 5 movies and you'd be okay.
Watch Bumblebee, I guess.
Yeah, because these get, for whatever weird reason, well, I know why they did it. They made Bumblebee kind of the head Transformer star of all the first 5 films, and obviously his own film. That's mostly because in the cartoon, the G1 series cartoon, Bumblebee was close friends with Spike, who was the human character. And so that was kind of the connections. These 2 guys were kind of connected. So they kind of used the same. I don't know why they didn't use Spike or whatever, but they created Wiki, but whatever. Excuse me. So that kind of sets the tone of it. And with the movie, the animated film they did, that was actually used to inject some change and some new characters. So they made Rodimus Prime and Galvatron instead of Megatron and Optimus Prime. They killed off Optimus Prime, brought in Rodimus Prime, and so then when the series came back, I guess from the new season, we now had Rodimus Prime, and we had these new people, and it was kind of in between seasons. It skipped it up. You know what I mean? It made the effects of the movie affected the show.
Yeah.
And then of course Optimus Prime did come back in the original show eventually, but. Anyway, so what is your thoughts, just kind of as a general, of all the ones that came before it?
I like all of the ones with Shia LaBeouf. I think those are the ones, because I've seen those the most, and I think those are the ones that are most familiar. And I like that we had a nice progressive story going. Everything was good. And we still had Bumblebee, but we had everyone else. I think the complaint with that was that I guess they didn't look the way they were supposed to. Or Optimus Prime didn't look the way he was supposed to.
Well, none of them did. And I never understood
Because later on in the other movies, they do.
Well,
Kind of.
in this newest one, they all look like they're supposed to look for the most part. Like they still keep wanting to make Bumblebee a Camaro. Bumblebee was supposed to be a bug. That's why it was called Bee. He was a bumblebee. Yeah. He was a bug, and you get that in Bumblebee. They finally got that right. But Bumblebee was also never this badass warrior like they portray him in the movies. He was just a generic Autobot fighter, But yeah, this new Rise of the Beast is the first time we see like Optimus Prime looks like Optimus Prime from the cartoon, from the original movie. And I don't know why they felt to not. I know they're trying to modernize the truck, so instead of using the flat truck that we don't see as much anymore, they use the extended front end, and then they put the blue in the flames, and they were trying to make it cool. And so like Optimus Prime is cool by himself. We don't need.
So I liked those. The Marky Mark ones. Sorry, Mark Wahlberg. I will treat you as an adult human now. Those are fine. To me, though, he felt, after having the Shia LaBeouf, he felt too manly and mature, I guess, to be fighting around with like, oh, we have Autobot. I don't know. There's something, it feels a little disconnect. There's some lines where he's saying and he's like all in. It just doesn't hit for me. Like it feels emotionally disconnected. I don't know how to explain. They're giving him lines that weren't comfortable for him.
Well, I think something I thought about it maybe along the same line is like they took an action star but tried to make you believe he's a normal guy.
Maybe so.
Because he's supposed to be an everyman inventor. It'd be like if you said Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I need somebody a little more bumbly.
Yeah, it's almost like if they had said, okay, look, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're going to play a lawyer in this movie. And you're not a tough guy. Be a lawyer? Yeah, you're kind of a lawyer who's timid, and we're supposed to believe that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's difficult to believe. So emotionally, it didn't connect for me.
I think he worked better in The Last Night than he did.
Yes, the first one with the hot daughter, is that the first one? That was awkward to me. Because I was like, that's probably someone he would date.
It probably should have been, the roles should have probably been reversed, but TJ Miller, the guy that was working with him, the funny guy, he should have probably been the inventor guy and running around.
And this was just his friend.
But nobody wants TJ Miller leading anything.
Anyways, but yeah, The Last Night, I did enjoy that one. Yeah. Okay, and especially the other lady that's like a more mature female lead. I liked that story better. And then Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld. I really liked that movie. I thought it was the cutest little movie, and I liked the thing with her and her neighbor Memo. He's like, "Hi, I'm
That
Memo."
movie felt like it was like
so cute.
E.T. with Transformers.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's a good movie.
And it has a good ending where Bumblebee leaves and just joins the Autobot.
Yes.
So you kind of get where we're at here. And then we jump into this new one. And let me tell you, this one is my favorite movie in the franchise.
Really?
Yes. Okay. And for multiple reasons. I love all of the movies. I think they're fun. I kind of equate this entire franchise like Fast and Furious, but the cars transform. It has that same just vibe and family and spectacle. And it's turn your brain off. I don't watch any of these like, oh, that doesn't look like Optimus Prime. I have that issue, but I'm getting to see Optimus Prime in real life with the real voice with Peter Cullen. I'm like,
yes.
Why would I be mad about this?
I am Optimus Prime.
And there's something inspirational when he talks. That guy has a presence to him. But this new one, everything about it felt like Transformers to me. And I also love the fact that Mirage is the head guy. Friend instead of Bumblebee this time around.
I like somebody different.
Give us something different. But this movie is very Optimus Prime centric.
Yeah.
And it's not the Optimus
It's about
Prime.
him, but not led necessarily by him. It's about him.
Yeah, but
which I like.
We're seeing a different Optimus Prime than we've seen before, because in the other movies it was always about protect the humans. And this one's like screw the humans.
He's like, forget them.
Because we got to see that growth. And so we're getting to see him evolve. And then I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the primals of whatever they're called.
You know more than me.
What are they called? Maximals.
I want to get because I kept telling you Manimal.
Yeah, it made me fix it. I was excited to see them. I was never a fan of Beast Wars, but I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I really liked them. I thought they were cool. I don't think I was a little disappointed that they didn't get enough spotlight across the team. It was really only the eagle and the gorilla.
Yes.
Like the cheetah and the rhino. They're there and they're doing stuff, but they didn't really get a lot of voice.
Excuse me.
But I was really, and it's getting a lot of praise too.
That's good.
Well, not necessarily the movie itself, but I'm saying Pete Davidson plays Mirage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people are really praising his performance as the character because not only did he brought that energy, there's some emotional stuff that he got to be heavy to
I
it.
think he's a really good actor. I mean,
he even says he thinks this is his best performance he's ever done.
Even in
that, and he goes, I'm not even on screen.
Even that Staten Island movie.
Yeah,
that was a great movie.
And his new show was excellent too. Bumpkus.
I just like seeing him do something a little bit more emotional and stuff because to me he always comes off like that goofy whatever guy, but he's much more than that, and I like it. And I feel like I will admit I am a little put off at first by his look and the tattoos and the messiness of him. But
he's a pothead and he's just like
but he's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. And then I have to do a shout out to the main guy who's Anthony Ramos, who
in the Heights.
In the Heights, and I think he was in the other one too.
In Hamilton.
In Hamilton, yeah.
So yeah.
And so it was good to see him. And I was wondering, is that going to be a thing? Like people are like, oh, there's so many Latino brown people in all these movies these days.
Well, here, and I want to say something that's kind of sad, and this isn't because I'm a white person, but I noticed that when I watch it, I'm saying, oh, we have a Hispanic lead and a black lead.
Yep.
You know, did they do this on purpose, or did they actually want to hire this guy because he's right for the job? And I think he's great in the film, and I think it was a perfect casting. And I like that both of these characters are not necessarily... these, I think, are the first characters that we've had in the franchise. Haley Steinfeld might be in there too, but they didn't feel like necessarily like weak damsels in distress, confused people. They felt like people that they were trying to do some. There's depth to them. Like he's trying to save his brother and doing this. Yeah. She's trying to prove herself of who they are, but they're also not just random kids. Like he had military experience. She worked at a museum. Their knowledge makes sense. And
I liked it throughout the whole progression of the movie. Like we had Shia LaBeouf, so we had very much middle America college kid. Then we have Mark like farmer trying to save his land. Now we're really in the heart of New York City. So I feel like we've got all the areas covered. So it makes sense that we would have an ethnically diverse cast based on where they're at. And it's funny, you know, in the one part where a car shows up with it, he's like, I didn't know cars could have accents. He's like, what are you talking about, Poppy? I don't have an accent. He's like, okay.
He's just been in that part of the world too long.
So it's hilarious. I just thought it was cute because even within the cars were getting more diversity.
Well, I think it was interesting too. There's a whole element of where they're at. I'm not going to say it, even though it's not really a spoiler, but it's kind of a fun, interesting of where the Maximals have been and how they connect to the story and how long they've been there, and you get their own little story.
And that to me, for some reason, was really impactful when we get where we're going, because that part of the world to me is really steeped in mystery and interest. Like, how did this even happen? Well, I get into the whole alien gate
thing. You know what it felt like to me more than anything?
It
felt to me like King Kong.
Yes.
Because they're those tribal people that worship Kong.
And they hold the secrets of,
they hold the secret and they worship Kong. And in this case,
I was trying to think what movie
Optimus
was
Prime
that?
Evil is kind of that
Primal
ape. Optimus Primal is kind of that Kong style character.
He's like, yes, we trust the humans.
And it's these people, and he's
They've
the
kept
catalyst.
Their secrets.
He's the one that you would think is like this rough, tumbling, angry character, but he's the one like, no, we
he's
like the
all
humans.
heart, man.
We're like
all
the
heart.
So it was. I think it was smart that you have two sides with the two primes.
Yeah.
Of the same coin of the one we're used to being fully respectful of the humans doesn't like them and doesn't trust them, doesn't care about anything other than Cybertron and their people.
Yeah.
And you have the other guy who's not from Cybertron but has the same vibe, which makes me concerned how many planets are just robot people. And but he trusts humans because he's been here with them and he has a different understanding and hiding and seeing them interact and saying, dude, you need to listen. Stop with it. And then come with understanding. And then there's a great strong scene I know you love when you can see both primes give orders or speeches. And it's like, could Optimus Primal be as motivational as Optimus Prime? Mm-hmm. And he is.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's because I think they cast a good voice for him, which was Ron Perlman.
Yeah, I was looking at that right now. I mean, and I think that's the other thing that's, I hope people, because there's some people who are like, I don't watch cartoon movies, or I don't watch this movie because there's not real people. I mean, there are real people giving real performances that are very emotional, even though you're watching like a half gorilla, ape, half robot thing.
Which cracks me up.
But it's very emotional.
When the animals transformed, your excitement was like,
because
it's so funny because I'm like,
oh my God.
I figured you would have. I didn't think that would surprise you because
no, I don't know.
The whole mentality of Transformers is they transform from one thing to something else.
But I didn't. I thought they were going to put like how when Optimus Prime goes to fight, his mask comes up. I was like, okay,
which
cool.
is still something I have issues with.
Okay,
because in
the big gun comes out.
Well, no, I'm talking about the cartoon though. His mask is always there.
I know you
and
don't
the mask
like that his
moves
mouth
when
moves.
he talks. But I don't need Optimus Prime to have a mouth, and it still bothers me.
I know, and one of them looked like they had like a little mustache when they were talking, and I was like, that's awkward.
Well, I like that, like some of the other ones, like the John Goodman one, and he got like the whole beard mustache, but they're like cables.
Yes,
I love that. So I think it's funny. His cigar is a
but
bullet.
these things transform me. It was cool to me. I mean,
yeah, I know. It's just funny because like going into
you're like, you didn't know that. Why would I know?
I expect it because I know their existence, and then I assume knowing Transformers that they whatever shows up on screen is going to transform. So when I see somebody like you that. It's like seeing a kid see it for the first time.
That's me. I'm your child.
And then there's a big twist that we can't talk about the future of the possible franchise that I didn't know was going to be. This one of the few times I did not know this was going to be here, but
and I was like,
the irony that we were talking about that exact idea, and this wasn't a case of I knew it was going to happen. I was baiting you to be excited about it. It's like I had no idea it was going to be there.
I was just like, oh, I didn't know that.
And it's such a subtle thing, but you were like.
I was in the middle of the thing.
I went. If there was somebody next to me, I would have grabbed him. I'm like, did you see that?
No. So I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed where we go because I've been there, and I was like, I've been there.
This is one of the few movies too that hit. Like this was my soundtrack.
All the music was good.
You're normally like the Bumblebee was your soundtrack.
Yes,
this one was very my soundtrack because it was all hip hop.
All the music is good. Very good. We're in there singing. I'm like,
except for Biggie, you need to shut up.
I was Biggie, can't you see? I was singing that part. You were singing all the others. Yeah, it was really good. That's the one song
I said about like, nope.
It was good. It's a really good movie. Please go check it out. At least at a minimum, watch Bumblebee. Yeah, and that's a good movie.
Just because they make reference, I think, to Bumblebee. And
I
will tell you this, even though Bumblebee is essentially sidelined in this movie, which I think was a smart move, because it's a character everybody's grown to love. There's things that occur with that character that they sideline him for most of the movie, actually, but it gives somebody else with Mirage a chance
we get a little other people.
And makes it feel fresh and new. But Bumblebee's kind of return to action, return to a moment in the movie is one of the coolest scenes of the movie, too. So they sideline him, but they also give him one of the coolest moments, complete with the Mama's Gonna Knock You Out song is just perfect for the moment.
It's good.
So, and did you see who did the voice for Scourge?
I think I know who it was. Who was it?
It was Peter Dinklage.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that.
That was an interesting change for Scourge, because Scourge shows up in the Transformers the movie too. He's one of the random dead Decepticons. It gets changed when Megatron becomes Galvatron. One of the guys becomes Scourge, which is like his henchman. He's like his new Starscream. And I'm like, when he came on screen, I'm like, they call him Scourge. I'm like, is that Scourge? I'm thinking. That is Scourge, right? Because he looks nothing like that character, but I like these guys. They felt like a real threat, the Terracons.
Yes. This time they were scary. I was like, they're not going to win.
That's why they're called Terracons.
We're never going to win. Okay, show your poster, because that is a cool poster, guys. If you go, we went to AMC, and they're giving away posters.
What's it say? It says, till all are one. And they actually used a really good... this till all are one vibe of culture and people that actually resonates well with what things are going on with what's happening
today, and we should all
try with Optimus Prime right here on the front.
So then hopefully people are going to be like, "Oh, you're pushing an agenda." But whatever. It was the number one movie, my friends.
It was neck and neck with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So people thought
Little Mermaid is holding on for dear life. It's doing good still.
Well, and I was telling her before we did the show that there's this thing that people are talking about, like the diversity movement, if you will. And yes, you can look at it as forced diversity, and sometimes I agree with you. But sometimes it's just casting who they think is best for the job.
Yeah, and our top 3 movies have diverse
and you can
casts.
sometimes feel when it was a forced diversity cast.
Yes.
And I hate saying that because that does take away from a performer that's just doing their job and have probably a great big break for them. But like, a Transformers movie with any kind of cast, to me, never feels like a diversity casting. I don't feel forced on it because I'm like, nobody is here watching this movie for Mark Wahlberg, for Shia LaBeouf, for
you're here to see Anthony the Transformers.
Ramos. You're here to watch Optimus Prime and the Transformers roll out. you know. And this fool, when we were trying to go to the screening before we had car problems and then had to go again, she's like, come on, we got to go to the screening. It's time to roll out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, kill me now. So anyway, great movie. It's in the theaters now. Check it out.
All right. That's it for me, buddy. Over to you.
All right, over to me then.
Yes,
what are we talking
sir.
about? Oh, this is kind of this is a big movie, but a small week. Not a lot coming out this week.
Oh, I didn't check this.
The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe is coming out.
I really enjoyed that movie.
That's a fun movie, man. I was hoping it would do better and get a sequel. Maybe it's still. I've heard that there is still in development, so it didn't do great, but maybe it did well enough that they justified the fun of it. But even if you don't like the movie, he's fun to watch in this movie. Then John Wick Chapter 4 is coming out to 4K and Blu-ray and all that good stuff, and fantastic flick. Time Bandits is getting the 4K collection.
That's an old one.
Oh yeah, have you ever seen Time Bandits? Basically, it's just small
I
people.
feel like I have.
It's Terry Gilliam
at one
movie,
point.
I believe.
Many moons ago.
Not a lot of other stuff. I know Project Alf is coming out on, I think, Blu-ray, which I think is that the talk show one? Oh no, that's the movie he did. That's the
Alf movie.
Yeah, the Alf movie that came out, because there's been a couple of iterations of Alf. There was the original show, his talk show, then there was an animated series. Anyway, then there's some other anime stuff, some stuff I don't know what that is. Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1 is coming from Shout Factory.
Shout!
And that's pretty much all coming out this week.
All right. Coming out Tuesday on Video Demand and Digital or in the theater. This is Video Demand and Digital Tuesday. A movie called Bone Cold. It is about a black ops sniper who's trying to get out of this mission. It has failed. He's trying to find a way home, and he's being tracked. But it says he's also being hunted by something sinister and monstrous out there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Something else on Video Demand and Digital on Tuesday, Americond. It is a documentary about the income inequality in the U.S., and its effect on the American people. So that'll be interesting. It'll probably make me angry.
Probably.
Also on Video Demand and Digital, a movie called Crescent Gang. It's about a group of foster kids whose home is being shut down and their fight to stay together. Coming out on Wednesday to Netflix, Our Planet Part 2. The series continues with David Attenborough. Sir David Attenborough. You need to keep watching that. Thursday, coming to Hulu, a movie called Jagged Mind. It's a woman who has blackouts and strange visions and doesn't understand what's happening, gets lost in time loops, and we're trying to figure out what's happening and if it's possibly related to her mysterious new girlfriend. Could she be doing something? Don't know. Coming out on Friday. I'm excited for this one. The movie Elemental. It's an animated feature where the elements don't mix. So water and
Disney Pixar.
Yeah, and fire and all that. You have to stay within your own people. But water and fire become friends.
But water and fire don't mix.
So we're going to see what happens. Also, a little movie called The Flash. The next in the DC series. I feel like you need to watch several movies to be up to date on this one.
So I've already seen it.
What do we need to watch?
So I will tell you this. You technically can watch this movie without watching any of the other stuff. But there are small nuances of Man of Steel.
Okay.
The Batman versus Superman.
Oh.
Very small version of that. You could probably skip that one altogether.
Okay. Unless you just really like the 4-hour movie.
Justice League. No, that's 3 hours. Oh. The Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman is 3 hours. 3? Justice League, the Snyder Cut, which is the one to watch, is 4 hours.
You would need to watch that?
Yes and no, because that kind of introduces. It's really, you could watch Man of Steel for one element. You could skip over into Justice League. That gets you the other element of meeting Ezra Miller's The Flash
shows up
and Ben Affleck's Batman. There's some other elements of the Justice League that are kind of infused in the idea and what's going on in the world. And then there's the Michael Keaton side of it, which is Batman and Batman Returns. But in those cases as well, you can kind of just know they exist and don't necessarily need to see them.
Batman.
But it's something cool about seeing all that stuff. Like I watched all of that before going to see the movie.
I'm not going to be ready for this.
So, but you have all week to watch it.
I'll be at a conference.
I know, but all of it's on our movies.
Every night I will watch a movie.
You'll be watching Justice League for 3 nights because it's 4 hours. But I will tell you this: it circles through a lot of things. So if you didn't watch all that stuff, but you'd seen the stuff and kind of know in the back of your mind, he was Flash, and Ben Affleck was Batman, Michael Keaton was Batman, you would probably be fine.
I'll be okay. Yeah. All right. This is one I'm excited for. And I'm also sad that it's coming out on this weekend with these other movies because I really want to see this. This is the movie The Blackening.
There's a lot coming out this weekend. We're not going to get to see hardly anything.
But I want to see this. I would rather see this than Flash, which is probably crazy to you. But I don't.
But it's okay because
I'm on the fence of Ezra Miller anyway as a human being. But I know the movie's good. And
I'd like to say something before we actually talk about the movie about Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
I do agree with you.
I'm on
the fence. The whole drama with Ezra Miller is horrific. It's horrible. You don't know about it. We're not going to talk about it here. You can go look it up.
Go Google.
So many different things. And supposedly he's getting help with mental health issues. He's been in a treatment center. They did no press for this movie.
Correct.
They're very much keeping him away from it. It's hard because as a reviewer, I have to separate some of that stuff. And I know there's a lot of people. You have to just review the movie. I know a lot of people watch these movies and they say, I will not watch it because this person, just like the Will Smith thing. I will not watch it because it's Will Smith now. That's everybody's prerogative. I would never tell anybody. But I will say this without talking about anything in the movie. He is so damn good in this movie. It would be sad if this movie didn't get the push it deserves. That's all I'm going to say right now. That's up to
the general public.
Yep.
But this movie, I don't want this movie to get overlooked. The Blackening. This is the one where a group of African-American friends go away for the weekend, and suddenly a serial killer's there in the cabin. Who dies first? Yeah, because normally the trope is that it's, the black guy dies first in a horror movie. They're all black. So this to me, it's going to be funny and scary all together.
I think one of the catch lines was like, we can't all die first.
Yeah.
Because it's playing up the stereotype of the black person who dies in a horror film.
Okay. Then coming to Netflix.
No.
That's in limited release.
I still want to see that.
It'll be, we'll talk about it. Coming to Netflix, Extraction 2. This is the sequel to the Chris Hemsworth movie Extraction that came out probably 2 years ago now.
Something like that, yeah.
And then
awesome.
Did he publicly say he's not going to be doing as much due to his health issues or?
Huh?
He put out, there was a statement out on Thing that he already knows he's predisposed to have Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah, no.
So
I don't think he said he's not doing
more time with his family.
Yeah,
and
but he hadn't said anything about doing anything else.
Okay. I don't know. I'm concerned. That makes me scared.
I think the Bruce Willis thing has opened a lot of people's minds in Hollywood. These action people have started really looking at the little things that are taking people out. Like, Jet Li kind of stepped out of the spotlight. And I think he had some moderate health stuff, but he's still kind of there. And then Bruce Willis's brain thing and some of these other things really made people.
I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Instead of people just suddenly disappeared, you never know what happened.
Well, you want to see some sad stuff is like some of these bodybuilder guys that were these massive people in the industry. And a lot of them are like in wheelchairs now because it's just a punishment on their bodies.
It's too much.
Like that's one of the things Schwarzenegger talked about, circling back to that. It was talking about his shift of focus on his health he still lifts weights every day. He does lighter weight, more reps. Spends more time on his bicycle because when he had his heart issue, he couldn't lift the same way anymore when he had his heart surgery. So he's like, I changed my thing. He goes, but it's more about my health, longevity health, than trying to be big anymore.
Yeah, because Okay, coming out on Video Demand Digital. This is still Friday. Midday Black, Midnight Blue. This is interesting. It's about a man whose wife or the woman that he loved died. And he has just been stuck in his house for the past 2 decades and just can't get past life. So it's an interesting look, I think, into loss and grief. I think it's going to be a good one. Coming out to Disney Plus, Stan Lee, the documentary about his life.
Oh yes,
I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I was just watching a trailer thing for that.
And that's all next week. So there's a lot on Friday. Please go to the movies. Go see as much as you can. It's going to be a good weekend.
It is. I think it's going to be fun. And I don't know how much we're going to have for next week or if it will even be a show next week yet.
Because we're going to try.
My granddaughter's birthday is Friday. My birthday is Saturday.
Father's Day Sunday.
One of our Black Boat's dad's birthday is on Thursday. Not that really affects us, just throwing that out there. And then Father's Day on Sunday. So we'll try to be here.
We can go Friday, Saturday.
We may pop in and just do a quick one-off show. Because like I said, I've seen The Flash, so at least come under to talk about it.
Yeah.
And who knows? We'll see Extraction 2 for sure as well. Because I already have that to watch. Yeah. We'll probably be watching that tonight.
Later.
So, or back to back. So anyway, jumping into our giveaways, we still have a couple of digital copies of Renfield. This contest will be ending in the next day or so. So make sure you get in there, enter your chance to win. We also have a movie called I Am T-Rex, which is an animated feature from Wogo USA. Don't know much about it. I guess we're about to find out.
It's about a T-Rex.
We have a movie, another horror flick we'll talk about in the next couple of weeks called The Tank.
Nice.
I thought that was one we were going to talk about this week, and then realized it didn't come out till the 27th. So we got a couple of weeks, though.
Okay,
we'll
cool.
talk about that.
We'll catch up.
Sakra, which I just talked about today. I keep wanting to say Sakara, and then I realized that's not in there, and Sicario is a whole different movie. Then we still got a couple of copies left of A Good Person and Fist of the Condor, which Fist of the Condor, if you don't get a copy or don't win, I believe it's also on the Hiya streaming network, which is like $3-4 a month. If you want to see a bunch
do
of
that.
Cool martial arts flicks and stuff like that. It's got a great Donnie Yen Fist of Fury TV series that's uploaded back in his beginning of his career.
Nice.
All kinds of good stuff.
That's fun.
And that's what's happening, kids.
Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. We will see you next week here. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go to the contest button for the free stuff. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Hive.
Peace out, kids.
Bye.
Hopefully see you next week.